What up, everybody? Jake Chapman here with you. It's Courtside Countdown. We're getting set for Game 2 in Boston. The Magic down 1-0 in the series and hoping to even things up here tonight. We'll take your comments via YouTube. We're going to be joined in just a moment by Dan Savage from OrlandoMagic.com. He is eagerly awaiting this one, as am I. You can hear us in Central Florida on the broadcast beginning at 6:30, the pregame show. Brandon Kravitz just walked in. We're here in our Kia Center studios, getting all set to go. 6:30, 96.9 The Game, 6:30 on the iHeartRadio app or the Orlando Magic app if you're in the listening area. And, of course, if you're outside of the listening area, you can always lock us in on Sirius XM or on the NBA League Audio Pass. There's Dan Savage as we check the comments here. JP Blazer says, Jake, how are you? I'm doing well. I'm hoping for a bounce-back effort here tonight, JP, but look, it still feels like you're playing with house money, right? Even if you lose this game, as we welcome Dan in right now, even if you lose this game tonight, you come back, you protect home court, and you make it a series if you pick up 3 and 4 on Friday and Sunday. Guys, hit us up with your comments. We're getting a look now at Houston is doing absolute yeoman's work there in Boston on the floor. Hopefully she's avoiding rebounds and ricochets. Who is that? Is that Tristan Da Silva shooting free throws? Looks like it. Dan, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well, Jakey. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. We've got some video. We're going to take a look at some highlights from the loss on Sunday. And first and foremost, we got to talk about Paolo Banchero, obviously. Dan, very small sample size, of course, but if you look at the all-time scoring list in terms of the playoffs, he's tied for 7th with 28.1 points per game. Granted, it's only 8 games that he's played, but he delivered the other night. I think probably a little bit more balance offensively would be a good thing. I don't think we want Paolo and Franz taking 51 of 81 shots. But to have that bedrock and that foundation of 36 points, his last 3 road playoff games, he scored 38, 39, and 36 points. The dude just ascends when the spotlight gets bigger, and I'm expecting a similar effort here tonight. I think the Magic are going to need it.
No, without question. That guy has no pressure tattooed on his body, and he lives up to it. It's not one of those fake tattoos where you don't know what it means, and the person doesn't deliver. He lives up to every bit of the word of no pressure and knowing pressure. He just knows how to deal with it. And it seems like the brighter the lights, the better he performs, which is why you want to see this Magic team win and continue to advance, because I have a feeling as the stakes get higher, he's only going to get better with the way he plays. And, what I liked about the performance was Paolo did everything within the confines of the offense. He did not force anything. His outside shot looked very good. And if he continues to play that way, I think that Magic head coach Jamal Mosley and his staff are going to find easy ways to get the role players involved and get some of those numbers up as well. So, for the Magic, I think it's a matter of not shooting themselves in the foot around Paolo Banchero, and they'll be fine tonight.
We've talked a little bit, Dan, about it. Actually, we didn't even get into it too much. Jason Tatum's availability for tonight. Let's take a look at the injury report real fast, and that's basically it. Jason Tatum is listed as doubtful. He is dealing with a right distal radius bone bruise, which obviously was a result of that flagrant foul at the hands of KCP in Game 1. I don't think we have any sort of further word. They're playing cat and mouse. It was a playoff foul. I mean, let's be honest. But some of the conversation up there is about whether or not it was a dirty foul and the physicality. I think that's a huge key, Dan. I think we got to jump this thing up, and physicality, in my opinion, needs to be even maybe ratcheted up compared to Sunday. We got to take it to these guys. They're such a rhythm team, and obviously the turnovers were a big key on Sunday. I'm not saying hard fouls every trip down the floor, but you have to figure out a way to kind of rough them up a little bit, disrupt their shooting rhythm, and a lot of times being physical is a great way to do that.
Yeah, maybe because I grew up playing hockey. I'm a hockey guy.
Yeah.
And, grew up watching teams like the Spurs with Bruce Bowen, the Pistons with guys like Rasheed Wallace, and so many other teams. The Celtics themselves with Kendrick Perkins and other physical guys there that I have a hard time believing that's a hard foul, let alone a flagrant foul. But today's NBA, so I digress. And everything's going to be micro-analyzed. So whatever. I thought Cole Anthony had the right approach. Was look, if that's something that they're focusing in on and complaining about, wasted energy and good for us, because the Magic are a physical team. They're going to play that way, and they're going to do so within the rules of the basketball. I don't think anybody outside of this incident, which has the spotlight on it right now. We call the Magic a dirty team. I think everybody calls the Magic a physical team, and that's the way they're going to play. And that's in the Celtics' head. I think that bodes well for the Magic, regardless of whether Tatum's are playing or not.
Comments coming in on YouTube. We'll check out your comments elsewhere too. Anybody who's watching us, feel free to register a comment or a question for Dan and I on whichever various social media platforms you are viewing us on. Let's see. JP Blazer said the other guys need to make buckets tonight, and that's obviously a big key. You made 10 threes the other night. It's not like the three-point shot was busted. But I think you probably need, and this goes back to the shot distribution, you probably need some of the role players to be even a little bit more aggressive. KCP makes 2 threes, he takes 4. Gary Harris took 2 threes off the bench. Cole played 10 minutes. The offensive numbers jumped while he was on the floor. Granted, a lot of that was in the second quarter when Paulo was knocking down threes. But Dan, as you look around at some of the ancillary players, look, Anthony Black played 11 postseason minutes heading into game 1. And so there was, I think, a little deer in the headlights type action there. Who are you expecting, or who are you hoping is able to contribute a little bit more, just as far as some of the role guys go?
Yeah, I think you touched on it right there. Anthony Black, number 1, because he could disrupt and change the game on both ends. Look, you and I both have discussed the numbers on here. When he scores in double figures, usually good things happen. And a lot of times, when he's doing that, not only is he hitting open threes, but he's using his defense to generate offense. So it really helps you on both ends. Those are stats that are not only points for Anthony Black and the Magic, but those are often possessions taken away from the Celtics and points scored off turnovers. So really helping you in two places. Sometimes, his 2-pointers are really 4 points because, he took 2 points away from the Celtics on a possession on one end and scored 2 for the other on the Magic. And that's why you often see his minus numbers look so high on some nights, because he can really help you win the possession game from the guard standpoint. So I really look for him to have a better performance now that maybe some of the spotlights of his first true playoff game are worn off. And, on top of that, I really think that the 2-headed monster of Magic veterans, Gary Harris and KCP, need to step up. On the road, you have to be prepped and know how to handle those moments. Those guys are both battle tested. I think they can affect the game defensively and knock down open shots from the 3-point line. So if they're able to do that, I think that'll continue to open up lanes for Paulo Franz and guys like AB to drive to the basket.
Yeah, it's interesting with those two because they are here and they were brought here to be floor spacers. And so they're not necessarily creators. But I think at times, especially because Boston's so good defensively, you need to force the issue a little bit. Put the ball on the deck and attack. I want to see the Magic took 5 shots within 6 feet with Kristaps Porzingis defending them. And Kristaps Porzingis is one of the best rim defenders in the league. We know that. I want to see us attack him more. I want to see us either get him in foul trouble, get to the foul line ourselves. We only shot 11 free throws the other night. This falls on Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero largely, obviously. But everybody, if you have the ball, and we got some comments coming in. Ezekiel Delgado says they need to stop shooting threes when they're covered. Just go in and get fouled. It's much easier said than done, but I tend to agree a little bit with Ezekiel. I think, look, we took 36 shots in the paint the other night. Boston took 36 shots in the paint the other night. If we try to match them 3 for 3 and attack the which they don't do, they don't attack the bucket. We need to have a big advantage as far as paint points go. Ideally at the free throw line, maybe things like offensive rebounding, trying to manufacture some offense. But the bottom line is we can't settle for jumpers, and we need, even if they've got 4 guys with a foot in the paint, we need to attack and get inside out action, get paint touches, and get to the free throw line as well. And that falls on all of those guys. But to me, I think that was something that was lacking the other day. You settled a little bit, and I'll say it specifically. Franz Wagner is our attacker with the ball in his hands, and I don't want to see him, taking threes early in the shot clock, because it's just not this. It's not what makes him special. What makes him special is finishing at the rim, even around a guy like Porzingis. I think Boston was able to kind of goad him into a couple rough shots on Sunday.
No, I think there's definitely a point to be made there. I think the other thing the Magic have to do is be careful not to pass up on open looks by the same token. So
Mm.
you have to make a decision there, and it's either take the shot or drive immediately and create an opportunity that way. Because what you can't do is be passive and start passing into traffic and giving the Celtics points off turnovers. So it's a little bit of a tough balance there. That's why, like you said, Jake, it's easier said than done. But the Magic have to be aggressive, and I'm with you there. Put Porzingis in foul trouble, get him off his lane. Be playing physical. A lot easier said than done with a guy who's every bit is 7'3" and has a wingspan to boot. That's the reason he went so high in the draft. But yeah, he's a presence. But the Magic, have made their presence felt against teams all season who have been good paint protecting teams, and I think they have to find a way to pick through that Boston defense because it is possible.
Do we have some shoot around sound we want to roll here? Does that sound like a good idea? No? Yes? Not asking Dan, I'm asking Dupe.
Our producer too will make the ultimate decision on that.
All right, let's get back to the floor. We're watching Goga Batadze get some warm ups, and let's see. We got Duval T87 says ABJI, Cole, and Wendell need to step up. I think those are probably the four guys who you can guarantee will be in the rotation. With obviously Wendell in the starting lineup. I think Gary Harris probably will come off the bench as well. Caleb, I think, will still get minutes because you need his perimeter shooting. But I do expect to see more than 10 minutes on the floor for Cole. And then it'll be kind of interesting to keep an eye on Gary and Caleb as well. Jonathan Isaac played 18 minutes the other night. He's been playing about as well as I think we've seen him play all season long, Dan. And real quick, before I ask you about J.I., I think we got some sound ready. Is that
go to it,
some shoot around?
Obviously, I think we got to put more points on the board today. So went over some offensive stuff that we feel like we could do better at. And then defensively, just keep doing what we're doing. They're a team that averages a lot of points. Held them to 103 last game. They're a team that I think averages like 120, but we could be even better. But I think, if we take care of our turnovers, for instance, that's something that we could be better at offensively that kind of transitions to the defensive end.
And now that you've gone through game one, as you're seeing what's going on, what are some of the things that you really want to see the adjustments, and what are some of the adjustments you guys want to see?
Yeah, I think in that third quarter we just got a little stagnant. So on offense, I think just moving bodies and moving the ball a little bit more. And then switching on defense. I thought we had a couple of breakdowns that led to some open threes for them. So I think if we can take those away, I think we'll have a good chance tonight.
The threes that they got up that were uncontested, I think those are some big portions of it. The rebounding situation that we'll have to make sure we stay on the glass, but also keep them off the glass. Those are just some minor pieces that we'll have to continue to adjust.
All right. There you go. Comments this morning from the guys at Shoot Around as we get set for game number 2 in Boston. Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com. My name is Jake Chapman. I'll be on the call tonight from here in our Kia Center studios, the Juice Box, as we affectionately refer to it. We'll have the pregame show beginning. It's called the Juice Box, Dewberry, because it's a box and we got to bring the juice. You see what I mean?
Is that why you have those two guys behind you, because they both bring the juice? That's
why I sit here, and that was actually a coincidence. But yeah, I mean, these are my two spirit animals. Need this guy back, and I'm not sure if we're going to see this guy today, but I wouldn't mind it if we did, because I'd love to have his offensive rebounding and his shot blocking as well. There's only so many in the rotations. Always get tightened up come playoff time, so not bad to have Goga Batadze in your back pocket, but we'll see if he's a part of the rotation tonight. One of the reasons it's tough to get Goga on the floor right now, Dan, and this is what you call a segue, this is professional stuff right here, is because Jonathan Isaac has been playing so well. J.I., the top 2 net ratings for two-man combinations who play more than 10 minutes together on Sunday. That's a whole lot to say. That J.I. and Franz and J.I. and KCP were your best advanced rated two-man combos on Sunday in game 1. Jonathan Isaac can absolutely win this series, in my opinion. He's going to have to do it in about 18 to 20 minutes a game. That's about what you're getting right now from him. But defensively, and then, if he can knock down some shots from the perimeter, it'll make a huge difference. I think he's an ace up Coach Mosley's sleeve right now, and I expect to see more of the same from him here in game 2.
No, that's a great point, Jake, because I thought his defensive presence played very well. And where he can really flip the game for the Orlando Magic in this series is his aggressiveness on the offensive glass. He isn't the most dynamic offensive player at this stage in his career. However, he can still change a game on the offensive end by generating second chance opportunities. And boy, if he can knock down a few open corner threes tonight on top of it, that can really help shift the game. So he is one of the X factors. I'm sure he was a big focus of the game plan because he caused so much disruption for Boston's offensive time. So they probably looked at ways to adjust around that. But J.I. is a very heady player, and I expect him to be one of those guys that can adjust to the adjustments on the fly and won't need a timeout or coaching to do it. He is just that kind of defensive menace.
Getting a look at Paolo Banchero as he's warming up. Feel free to hit us up in the comments here on YouTube, guys. Where's Dan? Isn't Dan supposed to be observing the comments? Dan's got TikTok covered. Oh yeah, when I think TikTok, I think Dan Savage. That's a slam dunk.
That's a sad state of affairs.
Dan's got TikTok and Facebook.
There's about 10 people on our staff that work close to me that I would pick over me in that regard.
Yeah, but they're all in Boston right now, obviously.
Exactly.
Let's see. We just have to play like we did against Atlanta. And neither do I, Dewberry. You think I got a TikTok account?
I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up. Let's go.
All right. Good call. Where's Kendra when you need her? Let's see. We just have. Okay, we got. Who's got? Sorry. Derek White. We're going to talk about Derek White, I suppose, because that's what I've been told to do. Look, he finished this season 4th with 265 made threes, and he was the one who torched you the other night. He had 30 points. This goes back to San Antonio, Dan. Here's a little note. His teams, Spurs and Celtics, are 11-1 in the playoffs when he scores 20 or more points. So this is a guy who obviously brings it defensively. He was actually their best rim protector by the numbers on Sunday. He's such a good defensive player. It's mind-blowing for a guy who's 6'4", 190 pounds. But he, between his 7 made threes and Pritchard's 19 points and 4 made threes, I think you can afford one of those guys to get going from long range. You can't afford both of those guys. And that's part of what's scary is you did a great job. And I think you deserve credit. It's not like Tatum and Brown just had off nights. The Magic did a great job slowing those guys down. Boston just hit you with waves of guys. I thought Holiday dominated the third quarter, and that was the big swing, really, of the game. He scored or assisted on 18 points, played the whole quarter, turned us over a couple times. But between Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, man, you got to have, and this is obviously where you miss Jalen Suggs, but you got to have everything buttoned up as far as their backcourt goes, because it's not just slow down Brown and Tatum and you'll be okay. They got guys who can hit you from everywhere with the long ball.
Yeah, and a lot of those opportunities came in transition, and I think the Magic are going to be fully aware that, it's not enough to run back. It's run back and run them off the line. They're not a team that's necessarily you're going to run back and protect the rim. You have to run back and actually run to the line. So it's a little unorthodox in some ways, but you have to play them like it has Steph Curry, Trae Young, etc., because there's gravity to that 3-point line in a different fashion. So the Magic have to do a good job of transition of not only cutting off the basketball, but sprinting out to that 3-point line and running them off as well. And so I'm looking at the TikTok comments since I'm now the resident TikTok expert. So shout out to Carl who's saying what's up to you, Jake, and and Yana, who's planning to stay up all night to watch the game. We got a few international fans there. People are asking Red Fox wants to see the Magic take one up in Boston. That would be nice. Ensure that we have a Game 5. We're traveling up there once again. I like that. And that'll put the pressure on them coming to Orlando. So I like that. So a lot of good TikTok comments coming in. So if you have them, post them there and maybe I'll get to them.
Did we just get breaking news?
Did we?
It sounds like we may have.
Ooh.
Dewberry, can you confirm that? Okay. Well, that's all we need. George is good enough. I love that. All right. So Jason Tatum out for game 2. It's official. You heard it here on Courtside Countdown first. Everybody in TikTok, all the internationals, there you go. No Jason Tatum here tonight. Dan, Michael Hull is wondering if you asked the Wolves about tonight's matchup.
Well, I did. I volunteer at a wolf sanctuary, and I did go there before. And they were all about emphasizing the physicality and continuing that message, as you'd imagine some Wolves would do. So I imagine the Magic will do that. One of the guys complaining about the Magic's physicality was Al Horford, who's now in the starting lineup for the Celtics. Of all the guys I would have, pegged to do that, it wouldn't have been him. But considering some of the teams he's played for, guys he's played with. But, you got to defend your guy, and that's the veteran presence. You know who butters your bread. You know who keeps your contract coming every year at this point that you want to have it. And, he's your guy. So I totally get it. But he's going to be inserted in there. And, boy, if that isn't a veteran, heady, savvy starting lineup, even without Jason Tatum, the guys that they have there with Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. It's not like they're going to the bench and playing some young guy who's not battle tested and ready for these moments. They've got a heck of a cast that'll be prepared to give the Magic challenges to them.
It does shorten their bench a little bit, right? Now all of a sudden you're talking about, do you see Neemias Queta tonight? They go with Cornette and Hauser and L off the bench and Pritchard, and that's pretty much the 9-man combo rotation. So, I guess the ripple effect makes you wonder exactly what Joe Mazzulla will do as far as the second unit goes and as far as those bench minutes go. Al played 25 minutes the other night, so I think he's still probably good for that sort of a workload, but it'll be interesting to see. And Tatum, look, he didn't score the ball the other night, but he had 14 rebounds. He was huge on the glass, and that to me is like non-negotiable. We got out-rebounded by 1 the other night, but the second chance points were a pretty big swing in that game. We need to own the offensive glass, in my opinion, and it should be a pretty big rebounding margin, ideally, if you're going to have a shot at beating this team. Coach Mosley, pregame, I believe we have his media address if we want to roll that.
As a coach, to have a team that embraces playing a physical brand of basketball, a defensive-oriented brand of basketball?
I think it's great. I think it fits. It's been who we have been, since we got here. These guys embrace the challenge, the defensive focus, the defensive mindset, hanging our hat there.
Jamal, obviously AB's not his first time in the playoffs, but first time in a role kind of like this. How did you think he handled game 1, and what do you want to see from him tonight?
I think he settled in as the game went on. I think that's very important for him. Again, not getting a lot of time last year, but being able to walk in these moments and having, the last month being big games each time. I think he's settling in, and I think you can see the confidence on his face as we've gone through these last couple practices.
Jamal, how did the past month or so help Caleb, and what do you want to see from him tonight?
Like I said, for all these guys that haven't had that experience, the last month of us saying, it's one game at a time, that we've had to do certain things to get to the position we are now. These guys understand the level of focus they had to have, the attention to detail, following the game plan. And for guys like Caleb who step into the moment, it just builds confidence in what he's capable of doing because he's done it. He's done this before.
Having been through the playoffs last year, how is a game 2 different from a game 1? You're just kind of getting that feel for the series, but now you've seen each other once, and you're in the series now.
Well, the whole series is like a game of chess, and I really think that you get to settle down a little bit. Being on the road, understanding the crowd, understanding what they're doing, in different situations and scenarios. You get to watch the film back, so being able to settle in a little bit and find the flow within the game.
Coach, what is your biggest challenge when you face a team as balanced as the Celtics?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think they're multiple scorers, ball handlers, playmakers. Obviously the shooting is a big key, but then defensively, their ability to switch 1 through 5, and so you've got to make quick decisions. You've got to make sure that you're understanding personnel, who's where on the floor, just being smart about all your coverages and following the game plan.
Well, I talked from you guys over the last couple of days about playing faster, picking up the pace. Is that something specific you see of this series that you guys have to do, and is that something you wanted to do throughout the year? Because you guys have been one of the lower paced teams, throughout the season.
I think we had a stretch where we did push it. and that we're getting a lot more fast break points. And I think we just being able to convert our defense to offense. It's not playing frantic pace, but ability to convert from our defense, who gets the stops, gets the rebounds, to get out and run, and playing before the defense is set is a big priority.
Now that you've looked at the film, what do you think was the best defensive coverage after the game? Because you tried different things through the games, so what did you think works best?
I really think a high level of communication is the biggest key for our defense. I think the physicality was there, the closing and shrinking the paint was there at times, but our ability to communicate at a higher level is going to be very important tonight because of the different combinations of pick and rolls and movements and cutting and the way in which they move the basketball. I think us being able to communicate at any given time is going to be very important throughout this whole series.
Jamal, the first round offers a unique situation where you're playing the same team, but you get a couple days in between to see what worked. What was the conversation like off the court with the guys and how they're prepping for another chance with the Celtics after a little bit of a break?
Well, the conversation was, going down and breaking down the film, understanding where we let go of it a little bit in the circumstances that caused it. And so the conversations were great. The guys understood exactly what they needed to do. And, to Philip's point, is just game 1 to game 2, you can actually feel the flow of the game. And then going back and watching the film, you can really hone in on what you need to do to improve it. So the conversations have been great with these guys. The confidence level is high, understanding exactly what we need to do in this situation.
Jamal, you guys saw Boston twice without Tatum this year, whether he plays tonight or not. Just what's different about them with Tatum versus without?
He's in such an unbelievable scoring threat. Obviously, and other guys pick up the slack there. Usually in those games, it's Al Horford who gets the nod, and so then there's size, there's rebounding, there's switchability that Tatum still possesses. But just his veteran presence on the court changes the game for them as well. So, we've seen that before, but the ability is that the other guys pick up the slack even more so in that case.
All right, there he is, Jamal Mosley, in advance of game number 2 in Boston, coming your way momentarily on the Magic Radio Network, on FanDuel Sports as well. Pre-game starting in just about 7 minutes. And let's take a look real quick before our closing thoughts from Mr. Savage at the upcoming schedule. Game 2 coming your way in, 37 minutes or so. The pregame again at 6:30 on the Magic Radio Network, 96.9 The Game here in Central Florida and on FanDuel Sports. Game 4 will be back here, the friendly confines of the Kia Center. That's Friday at 7 o'clock. And on Sunday, we will have 3. We'll have game 4 on Sunday at 7 o'clock. Pre-game for all of those games starts at 6:30 on FanDuel Sports and on 96.9 The Game, the Magic Audio Network. And if you are listening anywhere in Central Florida, you can always stream us on the iHeartRadio app or on the Orlando Magic app. Dan, closing thoughts. What do the Magic need to do to get game 2 and head back to Orlando tied 1-1?
Well, our friends on TikTok have some thoughts. Aiden says, go Magic. Fellow with a nice Patrick Star eating a burger. Magic in 6. I like that kind of optimism. Ty says, play the song tonight. Like that as well. Few Magic in 6 people. So like the optimism. I think for the Magic to get there in 6, a big key for them is going to have to be limit mistakes, continue to guard the three-point line, and then on top of that, get some more production from their role players offensively. Because if Paolo and Franz give you those type of numbers, those are good enough against a team like Boston. So it's going to need to come up to the supporting cast to be on both ends. So hopefully the Magic get that tonight and come back to the O with a big victory, because then we know the Kia Center is going to be rocking for games 3 and 4.
Clean up the turnovers, get some second chance points, and I'm looking for a big Cole Anthony performance tonight. That is my pregame prediction, and that is my pregame, fingers crossed, hope for the Magic's offensive output here tonight. He's Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com. Make sure you read all this stuff. Jake Chapman here with you. I'll have the call coming up in about 35 minutes on the Magic Audio Network. Big shout out Jason Dewberry, Kai Dewberry as well, team, and a big shout out to Houston in Boston. See you guys later. Go Magic.